What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to RGF Media. I am Rob. And with free agency approaching on Monday, there's obviously been a lot of news trickling down through the NFL about different, scenarios playing out, different rumors about players and all this other stuff. Three notable ones I want to talk about that involves the New York Jets that really honestly has me concerned and a little bit hesitant about what may happen, what Joe Douglas is doing. And the first one being Ezra Cleveland, guard for the used to be guard for the Minnesota Vikings, and he was traded to the Jacksonville Jaguars during the season. I think at the deadline last season. This a player that went for a 5th round pick. Was one of the better half of guards in football. I believe played mostly right guard. Was a guy that Jets fans, including myself, was screaming and pounding the table for Joe Douglas to go get. Ended up going for a 5th round pick. And he just re-signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars for 3 years, I believe $24 million. And this really makes, this is where it makes me really worried, is that the Jets needed offensive line help for the past 5-6 years, however long it's been Joe Douglas has been here. You have a guy who's in the upper half of the league in guard play. Could have been had for a 5th round pick. Joe Douglas doesn't pull the trigger. Fast forward a little bit to this offseason now, and what Joe Douglas's comments at the combine saying our O-line is fine, we're in a good spot because Vera Tucker is versatile. Mind you, he hasn't played a full season yet due to serious injuries. And the Jaguars re-sign him for a very favorable about $9 million a year. Actually, I believe it's 3 years, $27 million, something like that. I think it was about $9 million a year he's getting. Really, really frustrates me because, again, for a player that is in the upper half of his position group, he's getting paid $9 million a year. And really, we got to think about what that would look like if we trade for Ezra Cleveland and he was on our team right now and we extended him. So instead of having 3 open vacancies on the offensive line, we would have had 2. We would have had a lot more flexibility in what we wanted to do in both the draft and free agency. Presumptively, we would have had that entire middle and right side of the line figured out with Tippmann at center, Cleveland at guard, and then Vera Tucker at tackle. And just it would have freed up a lot of what we can do for a very team-friendly, reasonable deal. And the fact that Joe Douglas wasn't willing to give up a 5th round pick for that really, especially now that we have 2 5th round picks, really makes me it just makes me wonder, like, what goes through his head. Because our biggest issue has always been offensive line since Joe Douglas has been here. You have a chance to improve that with a young, very talented, and even ascending player in Ezra Cleveland, and you just refuse to do that. So that is issue number 1. Issue number 2 is some news that came out today, and there are actually the last 2 things are news that came out today. The first one being Adam Schefter had reported rumors that the Philadelphia Eagles are expected to heavily pursue Bryce Huff, edge rusher for New York Jets. And as we all know, the Jets didn't tag him. They plan on not tagging him. Joe Douglas said at the combine that he was working on an extension. He was talking to his agent. They were having productive talks. But Bryce Huff wants a larger role. He wants a full-time role. And obviously that just isn't there with the New York Jets, since you have Jermaine Johnson and John Franklin Myers filling up both ends. There are certainly rotational spots that, like a position he was in, with only really Will McDonald and Michael Clemens taking up those spots behind him. But the thing is, this is something the Jets should have done last offseason when Bryce Huff had yet another season of improving. there are rumors that he wants around like 20 million or whatever it was, but he's expected to get anywhere from 12 to 15, I believe. But the Jets are willing to let him hit the open market. And just like offensive tackle, just like, playmakers, edge rushers are always in high demand. So if Joe Douglas thinks that he's going to get some bargain bin or just some really hometown deal to retain Bryce Huff, it's probably not going to happen because you're going to have multiple teams bidding on him. And then when you have a team like the Philadelphia Eagles who is always in contention for their division, has made the playoffs, they are contenders for the Super Bowl almost every year, then I don't see the allure Bryce Huff would see to come back to New York when he can go to a team like that. It's Adam Schefter also reported that they are looking to trade Hassan Reddick in order to free up some cap space to make some stuff happen. And to me, I think Bryce Huff is honestly, he's good as gone. And it sucks because homegrown talent, undrafted free agent, a diamond in the rough that Joe Douglas found. Credit to him, but just, has improved every year. It was the double-digit sack leader for the New York Jets, and just he's probably going to get better. And I can just imagine what he would do on that Eagles defensive line with guys like Jalen Carter there as well. And it sucks. It just, again, this makes me wonder what is the thought process in this? Something that really stuck with me and irks me now is when Saleh came in saying, oh, well, part of my job that I want to do is make sure guys get paid. Meaning they perform well enough to where they go out and they get big contracts. But that opportunity was there for Bryce Huff to resign him, but now it seems that's not going to happen. And I wonder what the rest of the team thinks when they see that. Our best edge rusher, like just pure pass rusher, he's going to be gone. So what does that mean for us? Are we going to get, what does it take for us to get a second contract? And it just, again, this irks me to no end. This pisses me off because he's here. You had him in the building. You had the opportunity to sign him last season to an extension, and you would have gotten him cheaper because he didn't have the year that he had now. And it's just beyond infuriating, man. It really is. But I'll move on. The last thing I want to talk about is the other news that came out today was the Browns traded a 5th and a 6th round pick to obtain Broncos wide receiver Jerry Jeudy. Now, look, I didn't want Jeudy, but the thing that really makes me nervous is that, again, he went for a 5th and a 6th. I believe the 5th was this year, 6th was next year. They could both be this year. I'm not 100% sure. I just got back from doing a million things, but it was noted that there were several teams that are very interested and in contact with the Broncos about Jeudy. Two of the teams I mentioned were the Jets and the Patriots. So you have this guy who's very talented. He's not a number one receiver, but a very talented receiver, very young. You can say ascending receiver, and you need receiver help. And he went for a 5th and a 6th. Now, I know the Jets don't have a 5th, obviously, this year, but what is the thought process? You need help in this department. Presumably, you want to get as much talent in here before the draft so that it makes your draft easier, but you didn't want to give up a 5th and a 6th or whatever would replace the 5th because you didn't have one. And what makes me nervous about it is the other day, the whole Aaron Rodgers podcast, when he was on a podcast talking about how, I would like to play 4 more years. That's a whole separate video, but I would like to play 4 more years. I hope Joe Douglas isn't looking at that. Oh, and then Joe Douglas saying, yeah, we're not going to, change our mindset this year than we have every other, it's going to be the same this year as it has been the past few 4, 5, 6 years or whatever, as it pertains to their mindset and free agency in the draft. I hope Joe Douglas isn't looking at this or hearing that and saying, oh, well, we got 4 more years with Rodgers. So we got like 2 more years, another year or two to kind of, you know, slowly bring in talent. And then we can really, really make a run for it for the last 2 years. Because that's not guaranteed. Rodgers would like to play for more years, like I would like to be a millionaire. It's probably not going to happen. And it's wishful thinking. So he's 40 years old, coming off a major injury. So, I mean, you need to have that mindset of all in right now. Like, okay, we need to get something done so that we can put the best team possible on the field and make a legit run at the Super Bowl. And it's just his comments of, you know, we're not going to change anything up this year other than, you know, what we've done, you know, since I've been here. And it's part of the issue with that is Joe Douglas has not been a very good closer in free agency. He gets these players in, you know, Odell, you know, the guard or the center guard for that went to the Chiefs. I was with the Patriots. Can't think of his name right now. But high profile players that come in and, you know, he kind of malingers around it, you know, throws them out an offer, and then, okay, come, you know, you can go out and explore, and then, you know, we'll get back to you, and just kind of really, really slow foots it. And he needs to be like a cobra, man. He needs to strike. If you see a free agent out there that can improve your team for a decent price, like 5th and a 6th, to a player of Jeudy's caliber. Again, I didn't want Jeudy. I would rather have Courtland Sutton. But just this mindset and this attitude is what makes me nervous about him being able to get those players like Courtland Sutton. And he needs to strike. He needs to close these deals. If you get a player in that you want, you need to close these deals. Figure out the money, you know, whatever the case is. Don't let them leave. Like, be aggressive. Say, you know, don't, you know, slow foot this whole thing and say, oh yeah, no, well, this 10th tier guy is the guy we wanted all along. And it's like, it's so easy to sniff out and call bullshit because no, it's not. You wanted this guy. You wanted the Courtland Sutton, but you know what? You didn't want to give up a 4th round pick or, you know, whatever case may be, a 4th and a 6th. You didn't want to move off a 6th and a 7th. Like, and then so now you're stuck with, you know, getting Joe Schmo who has, you know, 14 injuries in 5 years and, you know, has potential and all this other stuff. That's what you ended up with. So, no, those just my thoughts. Like, be aggressive, man. Be aggressive. Joe Douglas, you know, this news coming out about, you know, players that are signing, players that are re-signing, players that are being extended, players, it doesn't make this team look good when there was opportunity to go get them and your attitude is, well, we're still good, don't worry. And it's, again, this one of those things that need to change this year. But that's all I got. Let me know what you think. Comments down below. Like, share, subscribe. What do you think about all this? What do you think the Jets need to do? What do you think the approach Joe Douglas needs to take? But until then, talk to you later.